Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame.
Welcome to the Heel to the Face podcast.
And this right here,
with your hosts, Jared Wicks, Brandon Icebreaker Clements, and Paul Boy Green Esden.
It doesn't matter what your name is. And that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Brett screwed Brett. Because it's what's best for business.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. The champ is here. Oh yeah, new era. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya.
Tweet us using the handle @HeelToTheFace.
Woo! Let's get ready to suck it.
The bell is rung, so let's step in the ring with your hosts, Paul, Brandon, and Jared.
I might as well tag me up with my buddy from Syracuse.
Heel to the Face podcast is on the air, heading into Fastlane this upcoming Sunday, the final stop on the road to WrestleMania 34. This is the Heel to the Face podcast. We are joined this week, as always, with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. You can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21. Myself, Jared, just Jared Wicks. You can find me on Twitter at Jared Wicks. And most importantly, follow the program at Heel to the Face on Twitter, HEEL to the Face on Twitter. And we got a lot to talk about. Fastlane this Sunday. We're on the road to WrestleMania, so let's get to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening
with a 20-minute time limit.
Now, watching Monday Night Raw this past Monday, we got it official, what we knew we were going to get. Triple H teaming up with Stephanie McMahon taking on Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. And let me tell you, while I was watching this live, again, this is what I do. We all know, if you've been following the program, I pick better ways to book this. And I'm not saying I go long in advance. I'm not going to draw you out for 2 months and how this should have been booked. But just Monday night alone. Let's go Monday night alone. This is how this should have been booked. And this is the reason why I have a problem with this. Because Triple H and Kurt Angle are perfect. They are both good wrestling competitors. They are both, in their eyes, better than the other.
Yeah, true.
Ronda Rousey is billed as the toughest woman in sports. Stephanie McMahon is billed as, I'm afraid, don't hurt me. Would you want to see a heavyweight fight?
No.
The UFC fights?
No.
Mike
not
Tyson, when he says, I'm fighting a guy who is deadly afraid to fight me. Are you like, that's a heavyweight fight? I can't wait to see it. Do you want to see a Super Bowl where it's a team who says, we're going to get our asses kicked?
Yeah, so it's like, it'd be like, to me, it'd be like, let's see, the Eagles who won the Super Bowl against the Browns.
And the Browns, more importantly, the Browns is saying,
we're not going to win.
We're not even on the same field as it. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I don't even want to get out there. Like, that's not what I understand that this is script, this is storylines, but you still, like Brock Lesnar said a couple years ago, you're still selling fights. You still have to sell that same kind of hype.
You can't sell that. To me, I mean, you can sell Kurt Angle versus Triple H. That's fine. I'm good with that.
Because, like let's say Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. They will both have the same promo. Then when you watch the video package WrestleMania night, when you watch a package the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, what are you going to see? You're going to see them both saying that they're better than the other. And the reason we want to watch it, because we want to know which one's better.
Who's really the better?
Roman Reigns
who's
is going to kick
person?
his ass. Brock Lesnar says, not on my watch. And you're like, ooh, this is going to go down. In the Stephanie Ronda, you're seeing Ronda Rousey saying, I'm going to kick your ass. And Stephanie saying, please don't hurt me, and running away at all costs.
I would buy it more if it was, instead of Stephanie, you put Asuka in there. That would make it more...
Well, here's how you can buy it, and this is how I was thinking about it. So, again, kind of what we were talking about a couple weeks ago, where Kurt Angle just like to pull things out of his ass to kind of really force this. We saw that a couple weeks ago when Kurt Angle jumped out of character and was like, hey, what about when you were talking Stephanie McMahon, all that smack? And you're like, what?
It was whack.
So, kind of the same way they did this, where Kurt Angle all of a sudden says, you also have a contract to be a superstar. Well, again, that's like you're just making stuff up as you go. That's like Harry Potter when like the good guy dies and you're like, this is a G-rated movie. Kids don't die. Somebody really died and they're like, oh, well, he didn't get stabbed by the certain sword, so he didn't really die. And there's a magic potion and you're like, oh, I get it. You're just making stuff up as you go. And that's what this is. They're just making stuff up as you go. So here's what could have went down. This could have went down on Monday night. So they could have had the whole confrontation and Stephanie McMahon, just like she did, said, listen, I'm not a competitor. I'm not going to wrestle. You know, that's silly. And that's when Kurt Angle says, you know who else isn't a competitor? Triple H isn't a competitor. He's now one of the CEOs of WWE, but he still competes at WrestleMania. And what about your brother Shane? he's not really considered a competitor, but he still competes when somebody wants to go toe-to-toe with him. So you know what? It's fine. I understand, Stephanie. I understand you don't want to wrestle Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. It's fine. You know, why would I want you to get in the ring with somebody that you're obviously scared of and obviously not as good as?
Yeah,
and that's when Stephanie McMahon could have...
She's overmatched.
And that's when Stephanie McMahon could have said, well, you know, I'm not going to get in the ring, but I'm definitely not afraid of Ronda Rousey. And that's when Ronda Rousey could have said, you're afraid of me. And Stephanie said, listen, I'm in my shoes. I'm in the office. If I had to get in there with you, I could teach you a lesson. Okay? You're great for what you are, but this is my business. But I'm not going to get in the ring because I'm part of management. So I'm not going to get in the ring. But let me tell you, I'm not afraid of you. And that's when Ronda could have said, well, if you're not afraid of me, put your money where your mouth is.
Step up.
And that's when Stephanie could have said, all right, and that's when Stephanie could have, like, as I'm building up, could have built herself up. Could have been like, I'm not afraid of you. And said, you want me? All right, fine. Welcome to WWE.
You don't think they're building this up so Stephanie and Triple H win, do you? I
can't imagine, because that's, you know, I'm kind of taking a page where I wanted to see Stephanie go, kind of what Triple H does. Have we not seen Triple H in the past get challenged by people and Triple H say the same thing? Listen, I'm in the office right now. I'm not the Triple H of the past. I'm not a competitor. You know, did he not do this with Seth Rollins? You're not going to get me at WrestleMania. I'm not going to fight you. I'm in the office. I got bigger things to do. But if I wanted to fight you, I'd kick your ass. And that's when Seth Rollins kept goading him to finally be like, you want me? Fine, I'll step out and I will fight you. And that's what they should have done with Stephanie. Stephanie should have said, listen, I'm not going to fight you. I'm in the office, but I'm not afraid of you. And that's when Ronda's like, you are afraid of me. And then they kind of get it out of Stephanie, be like, that's it. Fine, I'll fight you. Not kind of this, we're going to make the match. Because again, in all honesty, if we follow storylines, Kurt Angle has no authority to be making these matches over Triple H and over Stephanie McMahon.
It makes no sense.
To make matches with them in it.
It makes no sense.
He couldn't do that at Survivor Series.
Because Stephanie and Triple H could overrule and say, well, actually, we're your boss, so this is what's going to happen. You work for me, Kurt, so guess what? That match is not happening.
Yeah,
you know,
so they should have found a way for them to want the match.
Exactly.
They should have found a way for them to say, you want the match? You got the match.
Let me ask you this: what did you think overall of Raw? I know we're on Raw right now. What did you think? I have to tell you,
the end of Raw was the best part.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The end of Raw was better than the entire. Raw was kind of like nothing spectacular. The Goldust John Cena segment was very interesting. I definitely did not see Goldust coming out and challenging John Cena. For a second, I was deadly scared that he was going to challenge him for WrestleMania itself.
I was like, oh, don't.
And I was like,
thinking, please don't do
what you've sunk
to. Don't
Don't
do it. You know. And then, and the funny thing is, I think they announced it on the broadcast. I think that was the first one-on-one matchup between John Cena and Goldust. So that was cool. I mean, I'm just glad it wasn't a WrestleMania thing, because John Cena deserves better.
Did scare the crap out of me when he did do his promo on Monday night, and he hinted at the fact, because if you haven't heard, Rey Mysterio at an independent show in Massachusetts last weekend, his quote-unquote potential opponent for the future at WrestleMania was injured. He tore a bicep. The injury, the severity of the injury is not completely well known. Most likely, obviously, with about 4 weeks left till WrestleMania, it seems pretty certain that they're not going to have a match just less than a month away. But with that being said, obviously John Cena has to have an opponent, and with such spur of the moment, you think he's going to take on Rey Mysterio, and last minute writing, John Cena kind of hinted at, we don't want to see him win at the pay-per-view this Sunday. He started hinting at hey, let's make it a triple threat at WrestleMania, kind of hinting at, I'm going to win, and let's make it a triple threat at WrestleMania. And let me tell you, that scares the crap out of me. Because what John Cena kind of does.
Alone. Leave Styles and Nakamura alone.
This would be listen, you want to throw John Cena in something else, that's fine. You can throw him in the IC title match. You can throw him in Ronda Rousey's match. I have never seen a WrestleMania match so perfectly made where the fans saw Shinsuke Nakamura win the Royal Rumble. And I think the reason why they announced it right as soon as he won the Royal Rumble was because fans were just clamoring for it. They didn't want to even wait. They didn't even want to assume. They want to be like, I hope this means he's facing AJ. This better mean it's him versus AJ. And then he's like, yes, it is me versus AJ. And then right after Royal Rumble, we were all super excited because no matter what was going to go down, Shinsuke versus AJ was set for WrestleMania. Do not mess with that.
Leave it alone. Leave it be.
This would be worse than when they messed with the fact that they could have had Hogan versus Ric Flair going one-on-one at WrestleMania 8, and then they ended up having them in separate matches, and we never got to see Icon versus Icon back in 1992. This is, to wrestling fans, this is it. This is the first time in a very long time, if not forever, that hardcore wrestling fans, the ones who are paying the $1,000 ticket to go to see WrestleMania, are going to see a match that they want to see.
They're clamoring for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is it. I mean, Triple H is in charge. This is what everybody's been hoping for. And John Cena, listen, first off, it's not even against John Cena, which obviously that's the opposite of what fans want to see. Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho, people have been like, what if we throw Roman Reigns in there? That's not obviously anything what people want to see. But more importantly, even if this was Finn Balor, even if this was Seth Rollins, even if this was somebody that's legitimate, a fan.
Leave it alone.
Still leave it alone.
Leave it alone. I love, me, I love Finn. Leave it alone.
Yes.
Honestly, I'd like to see, I think they're planting the seeds of something with Finn Balor, Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. That's where I
maybe for a match one-on-one down the road.
Maybe. I mean, you see this like one-upsmanship going on between the two. Like, it's like, it looks like it's friendly for now. It's kind of like, ha ha ha. Okay, you got me this time. I think eventually it's going to turn into something else. And honestly, as a fan, I want to see that one-on-one Rollins versus Finn Balor. I'm in. I'm going to go Finn Balor obviously for the victory, but I would pay to see that match along. Put that on the card with Shinsuke and AJ. I'm in.
The problem with WrestleMania, though, is there's so many one-on-one match opportunities. There's all this, they were trying to make the Bar versus the Revival. A lot of people are talking about that for the tag belts. But the problem is WrestleMania is about getting everyone on the card. And if we have all these one-on-one matches, if it's a tag team match, it's tag team versus tag team. If it's Raw, tag team versus tag team. I mean, how are we going to get everyone on the card? And I don't think they're going to do that. I think one, if not both of the tag teams are going to be like everyone involved. It reminds me of WrestleMania 20 in Madison Square Garden, where there was the 2 tag belts, and there was the Fatal 4-Way for the Raw belt, and the Fatal 4-Way for the SmackDown belt, and then there was like a 4-Way for the women's belt, and because it's such a long event, and you got to get everyone on the show.
Which I will say this, I think it's the wrong idea. Like we've talked about before, like we've talked about where Wrestle Kingdom, where it's select members of the roster make the show. It should be like a exclusive type of deal, because this is the Super Bowl of sports entertainment. I don't think you don't just throw Heath Slater and Rhino in just because, we need to put him on so he's not totally on the show. No, if you're not good enough to be on the show and your storylines aren't developed enough where it's going to be entertaining, we don't want you. I don't want you on the show. I don't need to see the stupid stuff. I want to see the Shinsuke versus AJ, maybe the Finn Balor versus.
And that's the problem. These matches
Rollins.
don't get their time. Like Wrestle Kingdom was the same length as WrestleMania, but it had 8 matches, and each match got its time. WrestleMania, it seems like it could have 15 matches, but not one match goes over 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So we want to see matches get their time. Obviously, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, that can go 10, 15 minutes. That doesn't have to be anything grand.
I will say this, not to cut you off. Looking at SmackDown, I have to tell you, I know it was a no contest, but that Styles versus Ziggler match was awesome. That was a great match. I really enjoyed that. I think you're going to see more out of Ziggler with his new contract that he just got. He's making a lot of money. He's one of the highest paid superstars in the business from what
And we don't even have to wait until Fastlane. Sami Zayn already put in the works that it looks like it's pretty much going to be KO versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans.
Yeah, we
already knew that was going to. But they didn't want to wait till the pay-per-view. I thought we'd get the big screw job at the pay-per-view, but we got it right on SmackDown.
It was odd timing. It was cool. It was great to see at the end of the show. But it's curious timing. I figured they'd save something like that for Fastlane, you know what I mean? So to me, we'll get to the card later. I don't see I can knock out 2 guys right away. I don't see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn winning the title. I think they're, like you said, I think that's setting up, planting the seeds for the WrestleMania match, which we all want to see that anyways. We've seen it enough times, but you put it on the grandest stage of them all. They're best friends outside of the the ring. So I think that would be, you put that on there. You got AJ versus Shinsuke, maybe a Balor versus Rollins. I'm already getting excited. That'd be a good card.
I don't think we're going to see Balor. I think that's going to be as part of the triple threat. Definitely don't think we're going to see that.
I'm just throwing matches.
Because then
out
what
there.
are we going to do with the Miz? So it looks pretty set.
It's probably going to be. Yeah,
we're going to get what we get,
which is fine. I'm okay with that because Miz is entertaining anyways, and you're going to have the Miz Taraj out there with him.
Now, what about Braun Strowman and Elias? Are they going to give them a one-on-one match? Because I'm going to tell you, if they give them a one-on-one match, and again, knowing how WrestleMania works in the past, I bet you that's going to be a kickoff show. I just feel that would be on the kickoff show.
I'm going to be honest. That's a disservice to both Braun and Elias. I think Elias is on fire right now, and I think Braun's on fire right now. I don't think they deserve more than the kickoff show, to be honest with you.
But where
do you put them? I know.
It's a tough spot. You're going to have 2 women's matches. You're going to have 2 tag team matches. You're going to have an IC match. You're going to have a US match.
Are they going to
have 2 world titles?
Are they going to debut the 205 Live Cruiserweight?
Yeah, you're going to have the Cruiserweight. Is that going to be on the main show this year?
Are they going to have? Well, did you see the recent report? They're bringing back the Cruiserweight tag team titles.
Yes.
I did see that. So maybe are they going to do something for
the
that?
The Cruiserweight belt was last year on the line at the kickoff show. It was the very first match, and while I don't own the DVD, I've heard from many that it never even made the DVD. So a lot of people are saying, if you want to actually make this something, you can't designate it as a kickoff show 2 years in a row. If you're trying to hype up 205 Live and you're trying to make this a big deal, you're going to have to put it on the show. And again, don't forget, you're going to have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And if you ask me, I would probably say there's a good chance that Elias versus Braun Strowman doesn't even happen, and they might just be thrown in the Battle Royal.
And then to me, it would probably lead to them being, the final four, I think, in that. Because I think,
and then maybe because again, I know you have a WrestleMania card to book, but for their aspect, they have a year to book. So
That's
when
true.
people say like, "Oh, it's not like this is the last pay-per-view," and then everyone gets wiped away.
To me, it's a disservice to Braun.
If Braun doesn't face Elias, because they have 9 or 10 matches to fill for Backlash and Payback and all these other pay-per-views that they're going to have coming down the line.
I think they're booking Braun and Elias wrong. I really do, because they're both, like I said, they're both on fire. They're both future title contenders. I think they're both very entertaining. Their in-ring work is good. They're good on the mic. I want to see. I don't want to see them in a kickoff spot. And unfortunately, you're probably gonna like you said. They're probably gonna be in the Battle Royal, which I think that's a disservice. I'll say it once. I'll say it again. I don't like that. Like, they need to be in some sort of title picture. And I will say this: if they put Braun or Elias in the Battle Royal, this Andre the Giant thing, one of them's gonna win. You can't put one of those guys in there and not have them.
And I think it's time that we give that Battle Royal some importance as well. Means something.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you need to throw guys like Braun Strowman in there, and so he makes the Giant Battle Royal, great again type of thing. Some sort of tagline. I'm sure the creative come up with.
We just got to make it so you get something out of it. A title match, whatever. And speaking of titles, going back to Monday Night Raw, what we were trying to allude to earlier, Paul Heyman cuts yet the best promo since the last time Paul Heyman cut a promo.
Yeah,
he just tops himself. An amazing promo. He doesn't shy away from anything when he talks about him coming back at SummerSlam with the UFC belt right beside the WWE belt.
I love it.
I love it because of the fact that, if he's speaking from the heart and if this is the truth, I don't mind. I know that people are sick and tired of Brock Lesnar being part-time, but it's kind of like The Undertaker. Obviously we're at a point now where I think he's done, but for, let's say, the last 10 years or so, I was okay with The Undertaker coming back one match, and doing it until, because I'm not sick of it yet. I'm not sick of Brock Lesnar being champion yet.
I am. I'm sick of it. Here's the thing. I'm not sick of Paul Heyman's presence. I think Paul Heyman, to your point, he has the best promos in the business. That's not even, there's anyone, you can tweet us at Heel to the Face and we can debate this. Paul Heyman is the best promo cutter in the business right now. No doubt about it. So
because they give him the lead, they give him no leash. They let him go where he wants to go.
Say whatever the hell you want.
Obviously you heard him saying things that we haven't heard since the Attitude Era, with him saying bullshit on Monday Night Raw on a show.
I think he said bitch too. I think that was in there too.
He not just said bitch. He said that what? He wore
times.
that one out.
Yeah,
but the fact that he said bullshit on Monday Night Raw,
that was cool.
Which is quote unquote TV PG, and they haven't. I don't think even back in the TV 14 days, obviously the rating system has changed very well. I remember when I was younger in the 90s that when they said, I think, shit on TV for the very first time, it was NYPD Blue in the 90s, and it made the news in late 1999. And they had a warning before NYPD Blue went on the air that night that they were going to be using that word. And then obviously South Park came along, and then all these other shows came along.
Family Guy.
Where TV 14 is now TV MA, and TV PG might be closer to TV 14. But even in the Attitude Era, when it was TV 14, they still weren't allowed to say shit. So the fact that he said that on a TV PG current WWE just shows that they give him as far as they want to go.
They give him quite the leash. Now it's great. We doing our podcast, we can say whatever the hell we want. So that's the beauty. We're not FCC's not going to come find us for saying what the hell we want. So we can say shit, bitch, name it. I could do all the dirty words all day long. But back to Paul Heyman. The guy's gold. I hope when Brock Lesnar's time in WWE is done, which I think is coming pretty soon, they got to put him with maybe Ronda Rousey or something They got to put him on some star, or maybe an up-and-coming NXT debut, or coming up from NXT, maybe like an Aleister Black or something. They got to put Paul Heyman as someone else's manager, because without having Paul Heyman on the show, I think Raw would. I think they would suffer, because when Paul Heyman's on, it's must-see TV. Like they hype it up like, oh, Paul Heyman up next after the break. Like he needs to be around. I mean, there was a couple failed experiments with Curtis Axel and I think Cesaro, if I'm not mistaken, but if they do it right, Paul Heyman's gold. He's simple as that, gold.
So that's going to do it for our first segment of the show. When we return, we got a tweet of the week, we got a Twitter question of the week, and we even have our preview of Fastlane this upcoming Sunday, the final pay-per-view on the road to WrestleMania 34. And right now, you are listening to the Heel of the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and you're watching us on YouTube.
Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boyd Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow @BoydGreen25 and @TyDButler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
This program is simulcast on WRPR Rat Pack Radio. Go to ratpacksports.com for more information.
Do you want to stay up to date on the latest sports news? Come check out After the Whistle from 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday night. We talk about the NHL, we talk about the NFL, we talk about the MLB, you name it, we got it. Tune in on Sports War Radio.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Let's get back to the action. This is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio.
Heel to the Face podcast is back on the air on Sports War Radio, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Sports War Radio again, WRPR, which I believe is also a member of Sports War Radio. You name it, we're all over the place. Yeah, we're on YouTube. We're everywhere.
It's not hard to find us.
So it is time now this week for our social media segments of the week. We start with our Twitter question of the week. So this week on WWE television itself, they made the announcement official. It's going to be called the Greatest Royal Rumble. And the reason they call it that is because it's going to be the first ever Royal Rumble that has 50 competitors. So the Greatest Royal Rumble is going to take place in Saudi Arabia on April the 27th, 2018. It's going to be, quote unquote, a house show as we know now, but broadcast information is still yet to be revealed. So my question is, does the Greatest Royal Rumble take away from the actual Royal Rumble, you know, the one that takes place in January that leads up to WrestleMania itself? from its uniqueness and importance, and I am in the majority this week. I'm with the 89% that say yes, it does. Brandon, what did you say?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm 100% on that, man. It's definitely it takes away from it. What the hell's the point? Are you just trying to sell out a big facility? I mean, to me, I think it's ridiculous. Why? What the hell's the point of this? Like we always hype up Royal Rumble, beginning of the year. It's like the pay-per-view
because it's one time a year.
It's the one time a year. And obviously we made a big deal out of it this year, where you had not only 30 male, opponents, in the match, you had 30 female. Like, what the hell's the point of this? Are we just trying to sell? Are the ticket sales that bad where you have to make a big match over there? I mean, what's the deal here? I think this is awful planning. I think this is not. I'm not happy with it. I think this is stupid.
The thing. You could have even made let's say a Royal Rumble or something. Again, make it maybe a 20-man Royal Rumble,
a little battle royal,
so that you're not taking away from the importance of the actual Royal Rumble.
So what's going to happen now? Are we going to go next year in January? What do we do? 50 male and 50 female? Go, because it's really the greatest Royal Rumble of all time. That would just be stupid.
And the fact that they're advertising this as the greatest Royal Rumble, despite the fact that it's not the Royal Rumble, that would be like making an event that this one we are advertising as the best WrestleMania of all time. It's going to take place in July, and you're not going to be able to watch it. You're like, that's ridiculous.
Stupid. Hopefully they put it on. I know, obviously, like you said at the top there, they haven't released the broadcast information. I would hope they would at least air it on WWE Network. I would
hope that this airs in WWE Network. But again, this takes away. I know there's in the world of professional wrestling, a lot of people don't realize this. The Royal Rumbles that are on television are really the only Royal Rumbles. They don't give those out at house shows. They don't give those out at certain events. Now, they have before, people, have put on YouTube, and there's other information about the fact that before the official Royal Rumble in 1988, the first one ever, they did do a few Royal Rumbles at house shows, and they've done them in house shows a few times in order to get the fans' approval of if they want to see a Royal Rumble. But since 1992, they haven't pulled a Royal Rumble out at a house show.
They don't have
because of the fact that
it's widely accepted. Everybody loves it.
Because the reason I'm buying tickets to the Royal Rumble and I pay the price that I do is because I know that this isn't just going to happen at a house show without TV cameras.
Exactly.
This is the one time a year, regardless, that you are going to see this. That's what you got to like about Brock Lesnar. The one thing you got to love about Brock Lesnar is when he fights.
It's a special occasion.
It's a special occasion. Even if he fights at a house show, they advertise that he is wrestling at a house show. He doesn't just wrestle. He's not going to be just wrestling Roman Reigns.
He's not. Here's the thing. He's not coming to Syracuse. He'll go to different shows, but it's. He does a handful of shows here. I get. And
they don't even ruin the matches he's going to have. Meaning, they'll say that. Let's say Brock Lesnar is at a house show. They will say Brock Lesnar will be competing at a house show. Let's say this past week in Chicago, he competed at a house show, but they didn't give away the match that he's going to have at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns. Obviously, they do that a lot of times at pay-per-views. We've seen AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal. The night before, we saw AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal on an actual pay-per-view.
Exactly.
But with Brock Lesnar, they don't do that. They'll advertise that he's going to be on a house show, but they don't give away. They're not saying at a house show, well, Brock Lesnar takes on Roman Reigns before he takes on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
Which by the way, is stupid.
They don't.
Theory anyways.
They don't do that. When you see Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, you know that is the one time in a wrestling ring in front of people that is happening. If Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns were at house shows in the weeks before that, they were fighting other people.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Brock Lesnar, it was advertised, so it wasn't even flew under the radar. He's when he's at a house show, it's well advertised and a big deal, and it's still not going to be discounting the match they're trying to sell you. And that's what this Royal Rumble is doing. This Royal Rumble is discounting the Royal Rumble that I want to attend next year in January. Because again, and they're not just calling it, a Royal Rumble or calling it, something similar. They're calling it the greatest Royal Rumble, which most people would obviously account that if you're calling it the greatest Royal Rumble, that must mean that you add the line to it ever, right? So the greatest Royal Rumble ever is going to take place not Royal Rumble time. Why wouldn't maybe you should have made this Royal Rumble. Maybe you should have just made this the Royal Rumble. Say Saudi Arabia next January, we're bringing you the Royal Rumble. I don't understand. I guess my thing is why they can take their events all over the world, but they still can't pull the trigger on making them the events. Meaning they can bring an event to Australia and they can bring an event to England, but they have a hard time pulling the trigger on making them the events, meaning they have to make them house shows or at best Monday Night Raws. Like, why can't Fastlane emanate from England? You're going to England. You're selling the place out. You get the best crowds because you rarely go there. So you have the most rabid crowds. You have the most excitement behind it.
Yeah,
why not make it the pay-per-view itself?
Yeah, I mean that'd be a hot ticket.
Because if you watch WWE on television, it's hard for me to sell it to people who don't watch a lot of WWE that they travel all over the world, because every time they turn on Monday Night Raw, they turn on a pay-per-view, they're in the same places: Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, Seattle, Washington. They don't really go, when it comes to being on TV, all over the place. Now, I'd say, oh, they're in Saudi Arabia. Oh, what event was in Saudi Arabia? Oh, nothing that we saw, or nothing that we saw from Japan, but they go there. Well, why don't you bring these things there?
Yeah, I get that. I mean,
bring the Royal Rumble to Saudi Arabia, and again, they're bringing it. The reason they're bringing the Royal Rumble in is because they want to draw 60,000 people. Even more reason to make that the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. The Royal Rumble pay-per-view next year, Saudi Arabia, 60,000 people.
I don't buy the logistic thing either. If you're already doing a house show there, you can obviously do a pay-per-view there.
You're bringing the ring. You're bringing the set, and we know how they are with the set. They're very generic with the set nowadays. That's nothing big.
Yeah, that's
they
not
definitely
a big deal.
don't have to talk about bringing over pyro. Again, you don't need a large set. They bring over the most. They can bring over the house show set and make that the pay-per-view. No one would care.
Logistically, it's fine. And then you can do the Monday Night Raw after there.
Yeah,
or
and it would be unique.
SmackDown.
Sometimes, the Hammerstein Ballroom is the exact, or the Manhattan Center Hammerstein Ballroom, if you will, for Monday Night Raw was the exact epitome of what I'm talking about. How many people tuned into that, or more importantly, bought $1,000 tickets just for the venue, just to see something different, just to see something unique? I watched those segments on Raw, and I was like, ooh, look at the curtain. Look where the fans are sitting. Look at the music. Look at how the ring is set up. Just those things alone. How many people tune into WrestleMania every year to see what the set looks like, to see what the wrestlers look like in front of such a large crowd? That's a big deal. Walking into Monday Night Raw, you don't have that. So that would add to this, the Royal Rumble. Ooh, I'm going to watch the Royal Rumble. I mean, you're obviously going to watch the Royal Rumble, but the Monday Night Raw after, they're going to be in some weird arena in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to tune in. What's that going to look like? How's the setup going to be? The fans are probably going to be on top of the ring. It's going to be rabid. It's going to be like how when you watch college basketball's got this kind of on lock and key. When you watch an NBA game, they all look the same. But when you watch college basketball or college football, the venues are unique. So you tune in. Ooh, I've seen Duke versus North Carolina before, but what's it going to look like when they're in front of 9,000 people? Then next week they're in front of 30,000 people. What's it going to look like when these guys fight in a gym or in a dome?
I was going to say the dome. I mean, that's very unique.
A lot of people tune in, or a lot of people go because it's unique.
Oh, you're playing at a dome? That's kind of cool. And that's why Syracuse has what it has.
These hockey games. Why do you think people are paying $300 to go see a middle of the season, regular season hockey game?
Outdoors.
Oh, it's outdoors.
Cool.
Well, I've seen the Maple Leafs versus the Capitals before, but I've never seen them at Navy Stadium.
Yeah, it's like you get them in ballparks. It's like you're sitting where baseball fans will sit, and you're watching a hockey game.
People are buying the uniqueness, because if the Maple Leafs play the Capitals at the Air Canada Center, it's a regular Saturday, Wednesday night. But when they say, let's throw it outside and put it in the big house in Michigan, all of a sudden you get 100,000 people, a lot of them who can't even see the game, who have a horrible sight line. You go from selling a ticket that's $50 from the fourth row to selling a guy a $300 ticket to a seat and where he can't even see the game just to say he was there.
And what's
funny?
funny?
People tune in on TV for a regular season hockey game that they wouldn't on a regular Wednesday night because they're playing at the big house.
Yeah, I was going to say even the most casual fans are going to probably have interest in this game. So I mean, it probably would draw the ratings up. And even like myself, I'm not the hockey enthusiast. I'm not a big hockey guy. But something like that,
sometimes you turn on the outdoor hockey game because you're like, what does that look like at Fenway Park? What does that look like at the big house?
If I wasn't working at the time, I would have gone to the one at the Dome for the Crunch. You know what I mean? I would have done it just to say, oh man, this is cool. I can go outside and watch hockey like this. This is
bring the regular events. Don't make them house shows. They just did this with Starrcade. They wasted Starrcade as a house show in Greensboro, North Carolina, which would have probably had higher ratings than the Survivor Series pay-per-view that took place the week before. This again, if they don't put this on the network, I think this on the network will have higher ratings than the pay-per-view that month, which I think is going to be Payback or Backlash, or one of those pay-per-views is going to happen at WrestleMania. I'm going to be more interested in watching this than I would probably Payback, because it's the Royal Rumble, which I love. It's 50 people, and it's in front of 60,000 people. And Saudi Arabia is a very, very unique culture. So this isn't 60,000 people at the Superdome in New Orleans. This is 60,000 people, sheiks and princes, and just a whole unique culture. You see how many people go to watch soccer games. I, for one, am not a huge soccer fan. If I went to Europe, I would love to go see a soccer game. Not because I actually care about soccer, but because the culture of it is completely different.
Yes,
so tuning this on, see if they're going to start chants, wave flags, throw off those explosion things of color that they do during soccer games or whatever they do in Saudi Arabia for cricket matches. I don't know. I'm going to tune in and watch for that fact. So make this a regular pay-per-view. Just make this payback.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, to me, to your point, I agree. I think they should. I mean, the logistics, like we said, they just need to do it. I mean, eventually we're going to see a WrestleMania. It's going to be out of this country. Like, it's going to be out of this continent. It's going to be over the pond, so to speak. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of it's when. And I think the first place that we're going to see WrestleMania, and you can quote me on this right now, the first place it's not, in North America, I'm telling you, it's going to be London.
I mean,
no doubt about it.
And it should be. I mean, we obviously saw, and again, SummerSlam 1992. It was in London at Wembley Stadium. How many SummerSlams have gotten 80,000 people since? None.
No, none.
And the fact that they go there so rare makes it so easy to sell out.
Because you say, we're gonna have WrestleMania here in London. People, you know how much money that city that London's gonna make off of that? They're gonna make tons of money.
And again, this sounds crazy. This sounds different, but kind of going off of that theory, I bet you if WWE wanted, they could get 50,000 people for every single pay-per-view of the entire calendar year. And the reason I say that is if you do it in a different country where it's the one time a year that it's going to that country, then they're the same way that NASCAR gets 100,000 people for a race, because that's the one race that they run in that town every single year. They come once, then they go on to the next place where they go once. So if the Royal Rumble was in Saudi Arabia...
Well, technically you're right. I
understand there's a few times they go return Daytona or something. Yeah. But I'm saying if they went to Saudi Arabia for the Royal Rumble, just them coming to Saudi Arabia is going to get 60,000 people because that's one time ever. And then if they ran a pay-per-view in England in February at a stadium, that would get 60,000 people because it's just the one time a year that they're coming. And then if they had a pay-per-view in America for WrestleMania, they obviously get that because they get all the people that travel to WrestleMania. And then in Payback, they go to Japan for Payback. And it's the one time in the last 5 years WWE's been to Japan, and they're bringing a pay-per-view nonetheless. So again, you're going to sell out the Tokyo Dome, not just because it's the pay-per-view, but because it's WWE's one and only trip this entire year. Mm-hmm. They've been to Australia before and gotten large crowds. They've been to South America. They've been to, obviously, England. They've been to France.
And just think
They've
of it
been
this
to all
way.
these places and sell out stadiums
At
when they go
WrestleMania.
there because it's such a treat. It's not like living here. They come to Buffalo for a pay-per-view, and when they're done at the pay-per-view, they advertise after the pay-per-view is over, we'll be back in 3 months for a house show. And then at the house show, they advertise, we'll be back in 3 months for another house show.
And remember this, too. When you go to WrestleMania, and I know you're familiar, you've been to the last few, there's so many different countries represented at WrestleMania. It's like a melting pot of all different cultures and, different backgrounds. I like your theory. I just, the only issue I would have with it is, does WWE really want to fork up the big dollars to do that? I don't think they will.
I'm not saying that they ever would, but I'm just saying the fact that they go to these countries once and they draw, for example, when Raw and SmackDown do their once a year England tour where they have a Raw and a SmackDown in England, those places are not the same as Raw when they're here. When Raw's here, we talk about attendance. We talk about where they're curtaining off things, where they're having trouble with attendance. Not when they go to Raw in England, not when they go to London, because of the fact that they're coming there just for those 2 nights. The whole, not just the city, the country. They're coming to the country for those 2 nights. So the fact that the reason we have a problem with Raw attendance is not really because it's 3 hours. It's because we just have such an abundance of it. We can go see Raw in so many different places. It's coming to Boston, then New York, then Newark, then Philly. I mean, these are all within 2-3 hours of where we're sitting right now. It's coming to Albany, then Syracuse, then Rochester, then Buffalo, then Toronto, then Ottawa, then Pittsburgh, then Cleveland. I mean, if we want to get in a car and drive 5 hours, I could go see wrestling, WWE wrestling, a live TV show, 2 or 3 times a month. And not to mention, too, the fact that when it goes to Cleveland for Monday Night Raw, it's probably been at the 5 or 6 towns around Cleveland leading up to that on the house shows in the weekend.
Yeah.
So the fans in Cleveland will go, but the fans in Akron might not drive up to Cleveland because they were just at an Akron house show the night before, and the fans in Toledo were at a Toledo house show the night before.
Exactly.
So it's not like it's coming to the area once. It's not like it's coming to Ohio once a year. It's not like it's coming to New York or New Hampshire once a year. It's coming to that part.
It's not like it's coming to Columbus, Ohio, which is the event coming up here at Fastlane. So.
Yeah, and there's probably a house show on Saturday night in somewhere in Ohio, probably an hour away. Cincinnati.
Sandusky, Ohio, something. I don't know. I mean, to our Ohio fans.
Sandusky's a little small, but you know what? The way the WWE just loves that money, they run house, and that I think kind of, again, not to go completely off topic, but I think that WWE, they're so hungry for the money that they're worth cheapening the product because of the fact that they're willing to run a house show anywhere in the country. Exactly. It cheapens it away because people will see, for example, in this area, they'll say, oh, you're going to New Orleans for WrestleMania. I say, well, it's pretty special. They say, well, how special is it? WWE just ran a house show in Elmira, New York, in Watertown, New York, in Binghamton, New York, Indiana, New York.
It's watered down.
Yeah.
It's a watered down product.
And they don't. And for people who don't watch wrestling or are huge fans, they don't understand the caliber of those shows versus a WrestleMania.
Yeah,
but they do understand that seeing WWE wrestling is not the most amazing treat. It's like seeing the Harlem Globetrotters. I mean, you don't have to live in some exclusive area and make a huge trip. When the Harlem Globetrotters come to your town, you are not put on the map. My God, they're coming to Iowa City?
Whoa.
Wow.
This is cool.
I mean, they come to every high school that will invite them. And WWE is similar to that. Now, they don't bring Monday Night Raw to Elmira, New York or Binghamton, New York, but when it comes to house shows, they will bring them to Saginaw, Michigan. I saw them last week. They were in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I mean, they will bring them anywhere because of the fact that they get small crowds. A lot of these places only hold 3,000 people, but that's fine because money is money. And we'll take 1,000 people in a 3,000-seat venue.
They do that for us in Syracuse at the War Memorial.
Yeah, no, only 4,000 people showed up. That's still 4,000 more than if we didn't hold the show at all.
Exactly.
All right, so now it's time to move on after that excruciating long segment. It's time to move on to our tweets of the week. Brandon, what is your tweet of the week?
I'm on a streak here. I haven't gone to the creative humor for a little while. I've actually found a really good one today. It's from @Chairman Podcast. Shout out to another podcast. The chairman, he says here, and this is regarding what we talked about earlier about Cena versus Goldust. I thought this tweet was funny. He says, Cena needs to do the right thing and put over the young, talented superstar named Goldust. Obviously Goldust is what, like in his 50s? I just thought that was funny where, Cena should put somebody over, but that just doesn't happen. Like, when you think about it, Goldust is kind of long in the tooth, so it was just funny the way he said young, talented superstar. I think young past Goldust is about 25 years ago. What's your tweet of the week?
I mean, Goldust is he is quite old.
Yeah, he's been around a long time. What's your tweet of the week there, Jer?
So my tweet of the week, it comes in from @AllIn2018. It was a Twitter account. It's not affiliated with Ring of Honor. I mean, it's affiliated, but it's not Ring of Honor. It's not affiliated with Ring of Honor. It was something that was set up. We obviously talked about this weeks leading up to, or months leading up to it, if they would do it. They finally have a venue. September. The Sears Center Arena. I drove by it a few weeks ago in Chicago, which is actually in Homeland Estates outside of Chicago. The Sears Center Arena fits about 11,000 people. It's home to the WNBA. I think there's some other college basketball teams in the Chicago area. They got a lot of arenas, but that is going to be the arena, the Sears Center Arena in Chicago, Illinois, is about 25 miles north. That is going to be the site of the All-In event where they expect to get over 10,000 people for a Ring of Honor show. More importantly, I don't even know if this is Ring of Honor. I think that's the deal because Ring of Honor to be getting 10,000 isn't that big a deal. I think Supercard of Honor in New Orleans is probably going to get that. It's at the UNO Lakefront Arena, which fits about 10,000 people, and it's almost sold out. So I think this is not so much about Ring of Honor getting 10,000 people. I think this is about Cody Rhodes and his group, the Bullet Club, essentially promoting their own show and being able to get 10,000 people. I think that's what this is.
And it's awesome.
And you know what? Being in Chicago, the rumors have already started. Will Chicago's maid son make an appearance at an event like this?
Of course. One would suspect that he might, but I don't think he will.
We're gonna see this. We're gonna hear the CM Punk chants at this event. We will find out when it comes September, Chicago, Illinois.
No doubt about it. Every time WWE's in Chicago, you're getting CM Punk chance. It's like, all right, he hasn't been here in a while.
All right, so without further ado, it is time for our rundown of the final pay-per-view card before WrestleMania 34. We're talking Fastlane, a SmackDown presentation from the Nationwide Arena this upcoming Sunday in Columbus, Ohio. So let's start right at the bottom of the card. A match, throw this one away. Carmelo and Natalya versus Becky Lynch and Naomi. Who you got?
Do I really have to choose? I guess if I had to choose, Becky Lynch and Naomi.
You know, I'm going to say that as well. And I think this will probably be on the kickoff show. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Rusev. I got to say Shinsuke Nakamura is getting the win because they're trying to build him up. WrestleMania is coming around the corner.
I mean, with you.
All the way, they're building up Shinsuke.
Shinsuke's got the win, no doubt.
This one's somewhat interesting. Now, we're wondering what we're going to get for the U.S. title match when it comes to WrestleMania. As Bobby Roode goes one-on-one against Randy Orton. Who do you think Bobby Roode's going to face if he defends the belt? Or who do you think is going to be in the U.S. title match at WrestleMania before you make your prediction here? Do you think we're going to see a rematch of this?
If it's that good of a match, yes.
Because Randy Orton doesn't really have a road to WrestleMania right now.
I will say this. If Randy wins, the rematch is at WrestleMania. So because of that, because I would like to see it at WrestleMania, I'm going to go Randy Orton. What the hell?
I'm going to say Bobby Roode wins this match, and I say Bobby Roode versus Dolph Ziggler for the U.S. belt at WrestleMania. We move on to the Tag Team Championships. The Usos and the New Day, the rivalry that they said one last time, and then a couple months went by, and they realized, oh, wait, the roster's not that deep. So we're going to have to do it again. I'm going with the Usos.
Me too.
Because, again, I see the Usos in a big tag team match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't say that. But, you know, I was kind of sitting there thinking, well, I don't see the New Day winning this. What are they going to do with the New Day at WrestleMania? Because they can't have, you know, they were the host.
Who cares?
They were the host last year.
I don't.
You can't have them out. Like,
keep them off the show. The New Day can sit on the bench. I'm good. I'm over the New Day.
So the Women's Championship match, I mean, this is exactly what an in-your-house pay-per-view gives you. This is what Saturday Night Main Event back in the day gave you. Before Hulk Hogan takes on Andre the Giant at WrestleMania, Hulk Hogan's got a title defense against Tugboat. I mean, that's what this is. Before Charlotte Flair takes on Asuka at WrestleMania, she has to get through Ruby Riott. I mean, do we have to even?
It's Charlotte Flair's got this. Now, when does Carmella cash in? Is it Sunday? I guess we'll have to wait and find out.
I'll tell you, I have higher hopes, or I guess not higher hopes, but higher expectations at Sunday, that if someone's going to make a surprise in that match, it's going to be Asuka.
We'll see.
So,
all right. Yeah, what do you got for the last match?
Moving on, the final match, the Elimination Chamber, AJ Styles, John Cena, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler. You know it's 6 men. Sorry, Elimination Chamber. Not Elimination Chamber. Just 6 men. Not the Elimination Chamber fun behind it. So who do you got?
I'm going with John Cena. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm going to go with AJ Styles. You can't screw this up.
I just feel this pay-per-view card shouldn't even been.
Yeah, AJ Styles. It's done.
Take this pay-per-view card. I mean, this is the most predictable pay-per-view card.
Are we doing this? Okay.
AJ Styles is leaving as the champion. Charlotte Flair is leaving as the champion. I mean, maybe Bobby Roode. Usos are leaving as the champion. Maybe Randy Orton's winning the championship.
Wait, I'm going to rip some more paper up here. There we go. It's a throwaway. It's really
we're 4 weeks from WrestleMania.
Wait, I got one more.
I mean, they've had in-your-house pay-per-views in the past. We obviously get that. But this is probably one of the closest ones to WrestleMania that has ever been. So are you really going to screw up a card that's quote-unquote 4 weeks away?
I just want to see a good show and then get ready for WrestleMania.
Yes. So that is Fastlane this Sunday. They didn't call it Roadblock because, well, it's not a roadblock. It's Fastlane. Like, we're moving right through it. It's not stopping anyone on the road to WrestleMania. It's more like we're just in the fast lane. There's WrestleMania. There's the title changes in the slow lane, and we're on our way to WrestleMania. Like, these matches don't even matter. Like, we're just passing them by. So that's going to do it for another week of the program. For Brandon the Icebreaker Clements, for myself, Jared Wicks, we'll be here next week to break down everything Fastlane and really be finally, once and for all, nonstop on the road to WrestleMania 34. As this has been the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and you're watching us on YouTube.